Welcome to Defense Diaries. I am your host, Bob Motta, and I am joined, as always, with my beautiful and brilliant co-host, Ali. What's up, girl?
Hey, babe. Hey, all. Hey, members.
Hey, members only and patrons. Hopefully you guys are all, hopefully I did it right. You know, I can't make any kind of representations that I didn't fuck it up.
Well, I hope you didn't. I hope we got our patrons here too.
I think I put it in both places correctly. I have it as unlisted, so I think it should work. If you're a patron, if you came in through Patreon, just give me a hand up in the air. And if you're obviously a member, I think that there's no issue with that. It's always the Patreon thing that I'm always concerned about, because I obviously want both to be able to get in here. So, babe, we're doing it. We're finally doing it. We promised to do this so many times, and we broke our promises over and over and over. But today we're diving into one of the most controversial figures left standing in the horrific, tragic Dan Markel murder case, Wendi Adelson. I mean, at this point, we've seen 5 convictions: Sigfredo Garcia, Luis Rivera, Catherine Magbanua, Charlie Adelson, and most recently, their mother, Donna Adelson, also known as the meddler. So, but Wendi, Ali, has never been charged. And we're asking the question, should she be? Now, I've fluctuated on this many, many times over the years. So
I know you have. So what we'll do today is walk through Wendi's own words. You got it all lined up, stuff you want to point out from her 4-hour police interview. We got the testimony of her, ex-boyfriend, Jeff Lacasse. Lacasse, right? Not Lacasse.
Lacasse, yeah.
And her brother, Rob Adelson. And we'll talk about why, despite all that, the prosecutors might never put Wendi in handcuffs. Or might they?
I mean, we'll find out. We'll give it our best shot in trying to read the tea leaves and see what the deal is. So why don't we talk first about Wendi's police interview? I think that, people that have gone through that on other channels, they find that to be somewhat of a gold mine in terms of inconsistencies, things that she said that maybe don't quite add up. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, in order for them to bring a case against her, they really have to be able to show knowledge beforehand. And, you've got to try to parse her words to see if there's little things that she says that send up the old proverbial red flag.
I mean, they're going to be going circumstantially, 100%. Obviously, as they did with all of them. But, just the fact that her mother, her brother are both convicted, sticks her smack in the middle of it. And it's almost an uphill battle for the defense to be like, whoa, wait a minute. Despite everything you might think of as common sense, that, clearly the brother's not going to murder his sister's, ex-husband without some input from the sister.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Megan, I see your comment here. Donna did file a motion for a new trial. And Ali and I just want to be clear that in most states, in most jurisdictions, is a prerequisite to filing an appeal. They have different versions of what you have to do. Like, say, for instance, in Indiana, they had to do that motion to correct errors, but those things typically have to
Pro forma.
proceed. Yeah, it's pro forma. Obviously, Judge Everett's not going to grant that. I read through it. But that is her next step in terms of moving on towards her appeal. So court TV makes everything seem like a big deal. They're trying to get clicks, The stunning new motion by Donna Adelson. Will she get a new trial? No, she won't. Not based on that.
Not yet. Right.
All right. So let's start digging into her lovely daughter, the nefarious Wendi Adelson.
Do we want to start with her version of the timeline in the morning? I mean,
I think so.
She claims that her version of July 18th, 2014, Best Buy tech at her condo until 10 a.m., then home on her computer until noon. At noon, she leaves. She cuts through Truscott Drive, sees police activity near Dan Street, turns around, the controversial turnaround. Oh, she turned around a lot more suspicious than your average person's turns around. I mean, I don't put much weight on that. I kind of scoff at it, but so be it. She turned around quickly. Then it's to the liquor store, a gas stop by Goodwill, lunch.
Did she go to the Gas and Sip?
I mean, she might have went to the Gas and Sip.
I mean, if you know so much about the ladies, why are you sitting here on a Friday night?
At the Gas and Sip?
At the Gas and Sip. By choice, man. By choice. Name the movie. Movie.
I know the movie.
We've got 23 members in here.
Am I supposed to name it or just
out of our hundreds? We have 23 people in here. I love it. You guys are the ride or dies. That's what's going on, right? And we just lost one. And we lost
one. Anyway, she was at the Mosaic just after 1 p.m.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the obviously one of the bigger things that we have to think about is, this route that she takes to get to the liquor store. It's been well established that there are shorter ways for her to get there. But this has always been a red flag for people. And frankly, she shifts the call times during this interview, from 10:30 to 11:15 and then 11:42. And then she claims that she always uses the Truscott as a cut through, that's her route. Now, I talk about this all the time. You and I, where we live, we have typically multiple ways to get to the same location, right? And you and I, it's in our classic Bickerson's type mode, we'll debate whose route is quicker. Did you time it? No, I didn't time it. Did you time it? No, I didn't time.
We don't have to do that anymore with the maps, the maps and the quests and the ways and the
we still do it.
Days of timing though have come. We do it while we're looking at the phone. Oh, my time says it just updated to
right, but we can always beat the time. Like to me, GPS is a framework of how long it could take you if there's, all things being equal. But we also know that I always accept it as a challenge to try to beat the time that GPS gives me. I usually build in like a 10-minute earlier buffer because, barring any kind of unforeseen circumstances, I typically can beat it because I have a lead foot. I speed, and that usually equates to us getting there a little more quickly. But the point being, like, say, for instance, you and I are going to head to 88, which is the expressway closest to us from our house. And you typically would take the route
the way that I always go. And somebody might, Right. Somebody would say that was not the fastest route according to a map. Why would she go that way?
Right, because you're going the opposite direction.
Right, but I always go that way.
You're literally you're heading further west, only to go then south, then to turn back east, to turn, and you take that turn onto whatever that's Tanner Road, and then you're heading east again.
You want to give the people directions to our house, babe?
Nah, I mean, if they're that interested, I mean. No,
but no,
you
here's
know what
the
I'm
thing.
saying? It's like, but that's your
Here's the
route.
thing. You cannot go based on what a map app says when you're dealing with someone who's lived in that area for a period of time. They're not looking at a map, an app to drive somewhere where they know the area. They're just going however they seem. And if traffic backs up, they'll turn where they damn well please.
Right. So,
but what I never understood is how close this was to the house. If it's so close to the house, then I agree with, what Spitfire and Poe's Raven is saying. Like, you see that kind of activity, you're either finding your way to that house or calling to check on. I mean, the kids were at daycare, but still, you're going to call and check on check on somebody. Like, what's going on? There's a lot of police outside of your house.
Well, so the question has always been, what could she see from where she was located? And there, in Charlie's trial, it was a real point of contention, just how far back the kind of the caution tape was where they cordoned off the scene, and whether or not, because Dan's house was kind of closer to the middle of the two bookend streets, right? So the question then becomes, would she have been able to see that they were parked in and around Dan's property? I think a lot of people believe that, yes, she would have been able to see, or it was close enough.
Down, right? I mean, even 3 doors down, and you're calling your ex or anyone right there. Is everything okay there? Is your neighbor, like, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Like if we pulled in to our, or trying to pull into our cul-de-sac and it was closed down, I would definitely be hitting, first of all, anybody in our house and be like, what's going on? Is it our house?
Right. Then
And
the
if
neighbors.
nobody's home, I'm calling or texting one of our neighbors and being like, hey, what's going on? Why are there so many cops here? Did something great? You know what I mean? So that's definitely a little sus. It's her ex-husband's property on that street. And like everybody says, like you're not checking to make sure the kids are okay. Like that's the part that really kind of sticks in my craw. Like she doesn't put a call in to the daycare just to make sure the kids were dropped off. That's kind of sus, right? I mean, it's that point in the day where you're making assumptions, I suppose, that the kids are already there. Like, and I don't know. Like, I think, did we used to get emails when we would drop our kids off to the daycare? Once we dropped them off, did we get something like, oh,
I don't remember that.
It's a sign-in sheet or some kind of text notification. Oh, kids are here.
Right. Nowadays, it could be completely different than it was, 12 years ago.
Definitely. As a matter of fact, I guarantee it is.
Right.
All right. So Wendi during this interview says that she always uses trust God as her cut through, but also admits, which is, again, you've got this contradiction, that she always uses trust God to drive through, but then admits that she avoids places like Whole Foods to shop in order to avoid running into Dan. So, because she had also made another statement that sometimes she'll drive by the house, just kind of reminiscing and ruminating about the divorce and, their relationship. So she claims that she does that. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's probably some truth to that. But then when you hear the things that she says, like she was never really in love with Dan, and that this was like he was never the one. It's like you have to kind of like weigh the things that she says that are inconsistent with if she's happy to be out of the relationship. Is she really going to be, waxing philosophical about it after the fact?
I mean, I don't know if it's, she's calling it waxing philosophical, but it could just be, nosy. Let me glare at that bastard. I mean, I
yeah,
don't know that I buy it was, oh, I was reminiscing of the good days.
yeah. Does
The
he have a
days
new
of
cow
our
pal?
love. Right.
Is there a rando car in
Is
the
he ever
drive?
home?
Right.
Right.
So, and then obviously we have the whole situation with the crime scene. So she gets there. She doesn't really stop. Now, I thought that she had stopped and had spoken to a cop, but I don't think that she did. Like the cop recognized her vehicle, and I believe that cop said that she never came to a full stop. And
I
then,
did find that a little bizarre, to tell you the truth. I'm like, what? How's he paying attention to like what one random car did? Like, wouldn't there have been a lot of cars that drove by and he took notice of, oh, yeah, I saw, I forget what her vehicle was, van. Um,
well, I think I don't necessarily think that's quite as unusual as it may seem in the event that there's what appears to be a homicide. And we know that it's not uncommon per se for people that have committed crimes to want to kind of drive by and take a peek,
right.
maybe to see what was going on. So I think that when they station these cops, around the cordoned areas, the cordoned off areas, that they're probably on high alert. That they're probably saying, all right, if you see anything unusual, note it. If you see anybody who stops and kind of, seems to be inordinately checking out or trying to see what's going on, maybe jot their plate number down. So
And
to
if
me,
they
that's not
completely
crazy.
don't look at all and just turn, we want to know that.
Yeah, right. Like, which is also kind of sauce. Like if there's nothing blocking your path in terms of her continuing on straight, then
Right,
I mean,
I find it definitely suspicious. Like not so we already went through like she doesn't call anybody, blah blah blah. Blah. But to ask, not to ask the cop, not where to go or how to turn around. She knows the area, but what's going on? My kids live, my ex-husband and children live X doors down. Live on this street. Should I, to not even ask that seems
yeah, it's a little sauce. It's a little sauce. All right, so let's kind of look at some of the things that she says. Wendi says so that her timeline. There is certainly some questions that it raises, right? I mean, because again, we're trying to show knowledge, that she knew that this was going down. That's obviously going to be one of the stronger things that, the state circumstantially is going to have to try to prove. And, this is kind of a fertile area for them being the state, in my opinion. I mean, can you come up with maybe reasonable explanations? Maybe. But at the end of the day, again, now we have two of her family members convicted. Everything that is weighing down the scale against her, in my estimation, because the more family members you have involved, and then you have the person who benefits the most from Dan being killed in terms of her getting full-time parenting time with the kids. She can move, whatever financial benefits she may get from Dan dying. If
it didn't sound like there was any financial benefit to her directly, but one to the kids is to her. And I
right,
think many would argue that the person that stood to benefit the most was actually Donna Adelson, because it didn't seem like Wendi was pushing to actually relocate. There's a lot of questions over that.
yet she did.
Well, yeah, because I know that's strange too, right away.
Yeah.
But she might have felt like she needed her parents at that point. I don't know. So you want to discuss parts of what
Yeah.
she
So let's look at these. So like early on in the interview, she asks this question. Do I need to be Mirandized? Now, Wendy's an attorney.
Yeah, come on. Means nothing to me.
Well,
Sorry.
really?
Nothing to see here as far as I'm concerned.
Really?
Yeah, you want to figure out, am I a suspect or am I just a, person being interviewed? She's a lawyer, like you said. I don't think that you can put any stock in that. Even if she wasn't a lawyer in this day and age, everybody knows the spouse is the first to be accused, and get a lawyer.
Right. So, and I think that weighs in her favor, the fact that she didn't lawyer up right away, despite the fact she is an attorney. Right. I mean,
we're always telling people that don't worry, it's not going to make you look any more or less guilty if you ask for a lawyer, but you just said it weighs in her favor.
I mean, I think it does in terms of jurors. I mean, as lawyers, it's the most offensive thing I've ever heard is that she wouldn't have lawyered up immediately, because everybody needs to get a lawyer anytime that you're discussing anything with law enforcement, especially when as Ali said, that they're first looking at the spouse. So, but in terms of trying to twist that for a jury, because lay people think it's suspicious when you lawyer up.
Well, lay people on a jury should never hear whether she did or didn't lawyer up. So,
yeah, it seems to always make its way.
They somehow they hint at it somehow.
Right. They always seem
not allowed to.
All right. So she asks whether or not she needs to be Mirandized. And then to follow up what you were saying, she's quoted as saying, they're going to think that I did it.
Again, means nothing to me.
She knows. Right. That is not a smoking gun. That is a fact.
Right.
That she knows that clearly she is going to be the number one suspect. Again, on its face, nobody benefited from the death more than Wendi did. And at that point, early on, I don't know how much they know about the underlying, at least early on in the interview, they don't know much about what's going on in terms of the divorce. How long have they been divorced? Is there's this custody battle going on? So that all starts to come out during this very lengthy interview. So you think that's much ado about nothing right there?
That's how I see it.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So then we get into the never-ending concept about the code, the TV repairman will go down in infamy as one of the most moronic things that the Adelsons have ever done. So, all right. One of the things that she's floated out there to the cops is that the house alarm had gone off the night before.
Now, does anyone know whether or not that's true? I mean, that they've got records of that. Has that been anything that's ever been discussed, put out there? I know we've only have a small number of our members today, but do any of you know? Has that ever been out there? While we wait, go on, babe. Sorry.
And then, so when you kind of think about what would be her motive of throwing that out there, and I'm assuming that she's talking about Dan's house.
Yeah.
And she throws this out there. Oh, the alarm went off. Like, is she still on the ADP app? Like, is she still getting notifications? Is that what she's implying? But again, like you said, babe, that's easily verified. Right. So, but when you're thinking about it just on its face,
how does she
throwing that out there to set the stage for that this was a burglary gone wrong?
It seems like it. Especially if it didn't go off, but I don't know.
Right. And then obviously she kind of drops the bombshell when she tells the cops in this interview that her brother Charlie once joked that it was cheaper to buy her a TV than hire a hitman.
So there's two ways to look at that, right? There's one, why is she going to volunteer this shit if it's so damning? Like, if she knows about it, why is she like, hey, by the way, my brother joked about this, and if anyone was mad enough at Charlie, it would be, my family. Then you've got the fact that she knows damn well they're going to be going through her electronics, they're going to be going through her emails, they're going to be going through her text messages. So they're going to see the level of visceral that was, that her mother and her family, were espousing on this. But what I can't recall is there a digital footprint? Was there an actual text about this? It's cheaper to buy a TV than hire a hitman, or was that all just stuff they discussed early on? Because if there is no digital evidence of that, why in the hell is she throwing it out there when it puts her smack dab in the middle of it, with her alibi being a TV repairman came to fix a TV that's unfixable? At least from my understanding, that it was like the TV was shattered or something. Is that talk, or is that established somewhere in the record?
I mean, is what established that the TV repairman actually came?
No. The condition of the television. You don't have a TV repairman come if the TV's shattered.
Right. And like the way Jeff Lacasse made it sound is like there was it looked like somebody threw a shoe in the middle of the TV.
Right. So no.
And he's like, why the fuck are we trying to watch shit on this whack TV when there's a giant like shatter mark right in the middle of it, spider webbed out? But I want to get back to, I don't even get the joke. Like, it's cheaper to buy me a TV than hire a hitman. Like, how does one have anything to do with the, like, where's the joke in it?
He ended up buying her a TV.
Okay.
So I was thinking of hiring a hitman. I didn't have to. So it was much cheaper to buy you a TV.
Still don't get it. I still don't get the joke. It's like, is the TV in lieu of the hitman supposed to mean something? Like, well, like you'll just have to sit at home and watch this TV here in Tallahassee.
And is she so broke she can't afford her own television? I'm so confused. Who sits there looking at a spider screen and needs their baby brother to buy them a TV? But I think what he was saying is like, hey, this is pathetic. You need a new TV. I'll buy it for you. It's a lot cheaper than the money I was about to spend on a hitman for you anyway. Like, I already had earmarked money spend on Wendi. I'll spend it on your TV.
So, all right, Miranda says it's cheaper to buy TV. Yeah, I know. I get what the joke is. I just don't understand the joke. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's a stupid joke, and it's not really like there's nothing funny about it, first of all, but it doesn't work. I don't understand what a TV, why is there any relation between, I understand that the actual cost of hiring a hitman is way more than buying a TV, but how is the TV solving any of the problems that the Adelsons believe that they have? Like, I don't know. It's fucking stupid is the bottom line. It's just a ridiculous thing. One of many that the Adelsons did during the course of this thing. And let me know in chat, was the TV originally, this TV that was damaged, was it originally purchased by Charlie as a gift?
I don't know if that was the divorce gift or...
Wait, it's supposed to be unlisted, Mandy.
Unlisted or private?
Well, when I was reading through it, it's not private. So I had it as unlisted, but like I posted in both the, oh yeah, you know what? Like I see what Mandy's saying. Maybe
she's gonna.
Maybe people didn't look at the community page. They didn't get the email or aren't on page. I'm going to change it.
Mandy's handling it. Just continue on, sir.
I changed it already. I changed it to members only. Okay, so it should appear now. Okay, thank you, Mandy. Yeah, I was thinking about it. I didn't know which way to handle it, really. Okay, so you've got this statement. I mean, what is your thing with it? Do you have like a concept on it at all?
I don't know. I go back and forth. It's like, what kind of idiot sits there for however long she was. If you said the boyfriend says they're sitting around watching this TV, like, it doesn't just go buy themselves a new TV or ask her family for money to buy a new TV. Um, uh,
Yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, where it really kind of rears its ugly head in terms of people that this joke was repeated to is with Wendy's ex, Jeff Lacasse, who, when I look at Jeff, I think that he is certainly a credible person. I also, and these two things are not mutually exclusive. You know, do I think that this guy like came down from the heavens and is the most unflappable, trustworthy person in the world, and that he is able to avoid any kind of bias towards Wendi, despite the fact that she dumped him kind of unceremoniously? Like, there's that concept of Jeff that does exist because he can be being 100% truthful and still be a man scorned.
and he could be 100% truthful and still be wrong.
Right.
You know, like there's some of what he says, and I'm wondering if he's connecting dots that don't really connect. I mean, when you think about it with like, you know, with math or like accounting, like when we used to have to do this accounting for some work that we were doing on, and if I moved the numbers around enough, I would find the missing 31 cents, and it would be a completely different thing that led me there because I took one transaction to be this instead of that, and you'll still find the answer. And I wonder if he's doing that with some of this. Well, I was supposed to drive by there. Well, I was supposed to leave. She didn't want me to be her boyfriend on Thursday. Then she wanted to be with me on Friday. This was all to set me up. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I
But
really don't.
he testified in multiple trials, and his testimony is some of the most damning. Whether he's right or wrong, he puts a narrative out there that makes sense to jurors, and that's enough. We've seen it, you know, we see it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those. Yeah. So apparently I massively fucked up by keeping it as unlisted. Blame the robot. The robot's like, hey, plus there was this thing when I turn it to members only, I'm always worried that it's acing the patrons.
Right.
So, and that might have happened when I just went over to and made it members only. So I don't know. Are any of the patrons still in here? Because it's showing that we have 0 people live viewers right now for us. I know that can't be true. But if you're a patron, let me know that you're still in here and that didn't just fuck it up. Because there's the thing. There's the thing with it in terms of, yeah, I like, he's super believable, Dom's mom. But here's my pushback on it, and this is my devil's advocate position. You cannot discount the fact that the man is bitter with regard to Wendi. So, like, that's just a fact. Just forget about this case. Just think about your own life and think about somebody that has wronged you, especially in a relationship. And then when you go back and you're reviewing in your mind all the things that happened during the course of that relationship, and without a horrific crime being involved, just in general, and you're going back, you're going to view it through the lens of a person that is feeling that they've been hurt. So you're like, that's just going to be your lens. So if you've got a situation where now you inject this situation where Wendy's former husband has been murdered, and Jeff Lacasse starts Sherlock Holming it, and he's looking at this and he's like, holy shit. Like, I think I was the fucking patsy, because ultimately he gets there. Like when he's reviewing the things that she said over time, that's where he lands. He's like, I was getting the distinct feeling that I was going to be their patsy.
So
Unfortunately,
what's some of the key quotes from his testimony?
All right, so let's see. We've got, and by the way, I've been doing double duty. Allison must have forgotten I was doing that, and she's asking me questions when she should have been able to see that I was doing some other things. But we have a live on the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case starting at 12:45. We're excited to dive into that. It's been really tough to kind of dig up docs and that, but so we're going to redirect all of you all into that live when we end this one. So hopefully everybody will come and hang for that. But that is set and that is ready to go. So all right, we've got the conversation. So before we jump to that, I want to deal with this deck that I have right here. So the TV joke versus dead serious. So Wendi again says cheaper to buy me a TV than hire a hitman. Jeff Lacasse is of the mindset, okay, well, here's the problem. When she said that joke to me, she was dead fucking serious. It was chilling. My stomach flipped. This was not a joke.
And that's very well. I believe that he's not making that story up. I don't think he would make that up. Right. And I think her saying that goes against, is on the scorecard of, tends to show she did not have knowledge. Because why in the hell are you telling your soon to be, this guy that in one breath you're about to frame him for the murder, and in the next breath you're telling him that your family committed the murder? That hasn't happened yet, but you see where I'm going.
I do.
You don't tell him that.
Right. I mean, like, why are you putting anything out there that could potentially bite you in the ass? It's fucking stupid.
Can't have it both ways.
Can't have it both ways. So, and again, in Marissa, it's not a matter of not believing Jeff or Rob. Like Ali just said, I fully believe that Wendi said that to him. But again, you have to, if I'm Wendy's defense counsel, I'm spending an awful lot of time on trying to show that Jeff Lacasse was a man scorned, and that everything that he saw was filtered through this fact that he was pissed off that she dumped him. Like, he didn't understand it. He thought that they were in a real thing. The kids loved him, all this other shit.
I think he is convinced of his narrative. Whether it's right or wrong, I believe he actually wholeheartedly, fully believes
100%
that he was the patsy.
Yeah.
He got a car that looked like his, and one car that was his, one car that looks like his. I mean, that is suspicious.
It absolutely. But again, those two things can be true. He can be telling law enforcement, in his estimation, the things that he thinks are relevant and matter in the investigation that he found suspicious. And it can also be that his viewpoint is skewed because of his own bias against Wendi. That's all I'm trying to say. I think that he said everything that he said. I think that he saw everything that he said. Right.
Right.
But at the end of the day, there's always going to be this thing with me is, all right, I think Jeff believes what he's saying. Like you said, I think that he wholeheartedly believes that he solved this case. Like like I said, he Sherlock Holmes the fuck out of this thing. And thank you. Here's your platter with Wendi on it. Get to arresting her ass. And again, if you're on the defense side of this, if you're defending Wendi, you're attacking this concept that, okay, yeah, okay, maybe she did say that, but is it possible, Mr. Lacasse, that your representation of what she said and you thinking that she was dead serious or that she wasn't joking and that it was chilling, is that based on your feelings that you have about her now at this point in time? So to me, I mean, it's still for a jury though.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. It tells a story. What else do you have from his quotes?
So let's see. We got, it jumped right to Rob. Let me see what else I got. Not in the deck. All right. So, and again, did you kind of set it up that Jeff Lacasse is obviously Wendy's ex-boyfriend? He was her ex at the time as well. Well, pretty much. Testified in multiple trials, and his testimony is some of the most damning. So
I said those words, babe. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So 5 again, honey, don't pick on me. I was setting up another live while we're live.
I know, but then you acted like I am psychic and should have known that you were doing this
Well,
thing.
I told you I was waiting on the thumb.
I hear you.
Right. So, okay. So 5 days before the murder, Wendi tells Jeff, last summer, my brother looked into all the options to take care of the Danny Markel problem, including hiring a hitman. She even quoted a price that it could be anywhere from 15 to 50 grand.
Right. And that's why he was saying, like, she was dead serious. It was chilling. This was not a joke. And again, Bob and I both believe that Wendi spoke those words to to Jeff, but it can be, on the side of, it tends to suggest she didn't know for the reasons that we said earlier. I mean, he also testified that Charlie bragged in a hot tub about knowing people on both sides of the tracks.
Yeah, including criminals. And it's,
I mean, right, that's what's implied by both sides of the tracks. Yeah.
And so when you so you've got these statements that come out about, the hitman and, the joke and all that shit. Jeff doesn't think any of it's funny. In retrospect, Jeff thinks it was very damning. And I can't say that I blame him. It seems like an awful big coincidence that Wendy's telling cracking wise and talking about hitmen. And then all of a sudden, Dan Markel seems to be murdered by a complete stranger, which is just bizarre. Right. So you can see why Jeff's head is going there. Like, I think any of us would feel, biased or not, thinking that Wendy's a bitch or not, in terms of her, ending the relationship, you're still going to be like, holy shit. Like, I think this chick was like dropping like breadcrumbs all over the place. And so that leads him finally to this concept of Wendi pressing him. Jeff's thinking back about things that happened leading up with respect to him, leading up to the right before the murder. And Wendy's pressing Jeff about his Friday plans right before the murder. And ultimately that leads him, and he's talking about that he has kind of a similar car to the Prius, and that ultimately he ends up feeling like he was being set up to be the patsy here. And when you add that to her bitterness over losing the relocation fight, and that's
from their
one of the
narrative
things
standpoint.
right.
Anyway.
That's the state's narrative. The thing that always gets my mind racing about this particular case is the fact that, we've heard from Charlie ad nauseum because he testified. We didn't hear from Donna on the stand, but we heard a lot of her speaking in terms of the overhears and in terms of her being a moron and not hitting hang up on her phone. And she has that long conversation. So we know kind of how they operate. The one thing that we really don't know that much about is really the relationship, the true relationship off of paper, off of emails between Donna and Wendi of those two people. Meaning, I don't know if Wendi was like, if she thought her mother was a fucking meddler and it drove her nuts that her mom was sticking her nose into everything involved, or whether or not she really loved the fact that her mom was involved with this and had her back and was doing the work and, writing all these, proposed pleadings and coming up with these fucking ridiculous Nazi Christian school, all this crazy shit. And, like, I don't know where their relationship really lies.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and everybody that's pretending that they know is full of shit. Like, like nobody knows these people. You know, so it's like I'm a little remiss to jump in and pretend like I know the Adelsons, you know, or if I'm looking through the lens of, you know, my own life, that has very little impact on in terms of my relationship with my mother, would give me nothing in terms of her relationship with her mother. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know. But when you start putting together those facts, and then you add in kind of the what I thought were pretty bombshelly type things that came out during Lacasse's testimony in the most recent trial with Donna, which is that he was over there and Wendi had, and we saw the picture of it during trial. Wendi had a wall, like most parents do, where she had stuck up all of her kids' art on the wall. Just, you know, when they come home with, oh, look what I drew, mommy, boop, right on the wall. And that days before Dan is killed, she pulls all of them off the wall. Okay. So that would seem to be, if you're on the side of, okay, that's a fucking major red flag. If she's not planning on relocating or she doesn't have knowledge that, you know, something's going down with Dan and she's going to be able to move very soon, why is she pulling them down at that point in time?
Right, and changing her from cable, wired cable to streaming. Yes, we all did that, or most of us have either done it or are doing it, but the timing of it is obviously suspicious.
It's very suspicious. It's
And then
very,
you
very
got
suspicious.
Rob Adelson.
All right, so like let's just you're what time is it? 11:49. Okay. So I set our next live for 12:45, just so you know.
Oh,
All
I
right, so let me see. I'm supposed to have another slide, but okay,
That's alright. Your next slide is Rob Adelson. That's why I brought that up.
but I was gonna kind of summarize what we have so far
You did.
with Wendi. So we got the not a joke, the dead serious, the criminal context, the Friday alibi probing, and then the relocation bitterness, which out of all of those, the relocation bitterness is probably the least compelling because I just don't know how bitter Wendi was. I know that we heard that Wendi fucking hated Tallahassee, and it is a very different area than Miami. I mean, it's like it's basically like you're in Georgia South because it's on the panhandle. Tallahassee is. It's it's got to be a lot more country and southern than you would be seeing down in Miami, say,
Right.
right?
So at
All right.
Donna's trial, Rob Adelson, the brother who just like stayed out of the family business and sort of seemed not involved in the family at all, he took the stand, and that was, I thought, some pretty compelling testimony.
Yeah. I mean, to me, Rob was the most compelling witness that they put on because I mean, you could argue that Rob has an axe to grind, but not really. You know, I mean, whatever caused that family dynamic to break down, which seemed to precede anything that was going on with Dan and Wendi.
Yeah, and I would say more than an axe to grind is a way to distance himself and be like, "Hey, I'm the good Adelson. Nobody exile me. I'm gonna I'm gonna testify against my mom. I'm gonna tell you guys everything I know." You know, that kind of
Well,
thing.
yeah, that's a different thing. So, like, he's got a busy practice, and I believe in New York. You know, I think he's a ear, nose, and throat guy. I believe.
Yep.
At any rate, you know, he's got a reputation. He's got a practice that he's built over the years, and you know, I felt such empathy and sympathy for Rob up on the stand. I mean, you could just see, like we were talking about it during the trial, that is a very difficult thing to do, no matter estranged or not. You know, to get up on the stand and basically say,
Fight
okay,
out.
well, this is what my family was about, and that's not what I was about. And at some point in time, I extricated myself away from them because I didn't want to deal with their shit and the way that they operated. And that's what I'm saying. It predates any of this shit. So
Right.
when he's getting on the stand trying to say, hey, you know, I'm the good one, these people are fucked, you know, and I'm willing to get on the stand and testify, there's still this aspect of Rob for whatever reason, and I'm sure he had plenty of reasons, distanced himself from that family. Was it because his mother was a fucking meddler? Probably. That probably didn't help the situation for Donna, but like he cuts off all communication really for the most part, other than, maybe once a year. Like
Is he
he's
the
just
oldest and she's the middle, or she's the oldest and he's the middle?
no, I think it goes Rob's the oldest, and then Wendi, and then Charlie.
All right.
So and this was the first time that Rob had testified.
Right.
So kind of his testimony ends up focusing on several things. And he says that he was the brother. Oh, wait, you already said that. So he said that he had only heard negative things about Dan after Wendi left him. So the implication being that he didn't hear anything negative about Dan when they were together.
Now, I'm just going to devil's advocate that, because first of all, we don't know the relationship between Wendi and her brother. And secondly, a lot of times if you're having marital problems, like there would be, maybe one of my siblings, like my younger sister, I might go to, but for the most part, I don't want to talk shit about my spouse to my family, especially when I'm like angry or upset, because who wants your family hating your spouse on the the comments that you're making during an argument or during a time when you're feeling heated. So,
Right.
I don't put much into that, because we know she was saying negative things before she left him, from like what her friends had said,
Right.
So I don't know that's really helpful that she didn't say anything negative until after she left him. I guess,
Right.
like you said, it's trying to imply she's making up all this horrible shit after the fact, because I never heard anything before the fact. But to me, it doesn't get you there.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't think that was one of the more compelling things that he testified to, but this is death by 1,000 paper cuts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's not one thing in
No,
particular
for
that is
sure.
going to be like, oh shit. So, but so there you have the family hostility, and that's tracking with Wendy's divorce, and then the obviously the relocation fight. So that's kind of the backdrop of what Rob knows, and we know they're not really in constant communication. Like when the whole thing comes up with Rob, well, we'll get to that in a second. So he also said that he found it very, very strange that the family seemed to have zero curiosity about who had killed Dan, even after the arrests of, we're talking about Sigfreda, Luis, and Katie.
Right.
That's sus.
Well, again, the devil advocates that as well. He didn't know any of the players. He didn't know what was going on. He's not real close with his family. Like, if you just assume, okay, that Donna believed Charlie's version of events, which takes some mental gymnastics and her having a naivete that we know she doesn't have. But let's just, assume that, then, I don't think it's unusual that they're not spitballing with him, who knows literally nothing.
Yeah, hard agree. Hard
Right.
agree. Why are you involving your estranged kid at all? But it's like we don't really know as we sit here right now the level of communication. If it
Right.
was like it seemed to be very, very nominal, like in terms of texting, maybe calling once, twice a year type shit. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the case, then what you're saying is 100% accurate. Like why am I calling, spitballing with the brother that I don't talk to, and who's probably going to think that we had something to do with it? So,
And the fact that this whole Donna told him not to talk to the police. I don't know. Is that actually the words he spoke, that she said not to call the police? Because I do remember her saying, well, you don't know anything anyway, which come that point, whether it was a pre-planned assassination in Donna's eyes or not, he really did know nothing. They knew stuff that he didn't know, no matter what, starting with
Yeah.
the bump,
Well,
the payments, the everything.
yeah, I think in the counter argument to that, in the prosecuting Wendi side of it, is that would appear to be a family closing ranks, right?
Yeah.
That they're
No, for sure.
tightening up the circle. They're not letting anything get out from the inner sanctum, and that includes Rob,
Right.
right?
And then there's Wendi. Rob testified that Donna's attention was especially focused on her during the divorce and relocation battle. I mean, nothing new there, though. I mean, we all know, I mean, she's the meddler, and we
She's the
saw
meddler.
that, we didn't need Rob to tell us that, but there's a lot of other things Rob had to say.
Indeed, and this was one of the more compelling things. But like all of them, all the things that are said and testified to a trial, I think that there's a counter to this as well. So then, apparently, at some point, Wendi texts Rob while she's on vacation, had gone away for the weekend with Jeff. And she tells Rob that her parents didn't know. Okay. And leaves it generic like that. Like that. This was the thing. This was my pushback on this text. She's like, yeah, I'm on vacation for the weekend. I didn't have the kiddos. I'm down with Jeff, my boyfriend. And he's like, who's Jeff? And she's like, my boyfriend. And then she says that her parents, mom and dad, don't know. But don't know what? They don't know that she's dating Jeff, or they don't know that she's on vacation for the weekend, that she's dipped out of town while they're watching the kids, or if Dan's got the kid, whoever's got the kids that weekend.
Right. So there's
to me, it's open-ended. Like I had said, babe, if you were to send me that text, I would text you back to clarify. Right. You know how I hate texting anyway. It's like there's no context in it. You know, I'd say exactly this. I'm like, don't know what.
Right.
Like that you're dating Jeff, or that you're gone for the weekend.
Right. And I definitely take it as that they don't know I'm on vacation with my boyfriend, because, or they don't know he's with me, or they don't know I'm on vacation at all. And, it's the way that like it fits into Jeff's testimony is like he was conveying that he felt she was setting him up, so that he went to the police and said, well, what about this guy? I know my sister was dating this guy, and that she's like managing who knows what in the family. But again, to me, that's all just narrative that could just be, she was excited about the fact that she's going on vacation with the boyfriend. I mean, obviously you have the other side of it. Okay, you just said this isn't a brother she's very close with. This isn't a brother she keeps in the loop. Why all of a sudden now this one boyfriend that she's never sent a picture of before, is she sending a picture of the boyfriend? Well, how often did she have a boyfriend? She was married for a period of time. Was she with anyone serious before this guy? There's just a lot over that I don't put much weight into that. But he also talked about the birthday party. That was like a huge thing. And that he wasn't. What's that?
Oh, Scorpion had just corrected me. Wendi is in fact the youngest. So
wait, Charlie's not the younger brother? Charlie's the older brother?
Yeah, well, I think it goes Rob, Charlie, Wendi. She's the baby.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That there was this whole, your dad's birthday gift as another part of the code. And the dad's birthday gift is supposed to be the murder of my gosh, my brain just went. What's the husband's name? Dan. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
The murder of Dan. And they put him on to be like, well, your mom, would she coordinate a gift like through all of you? Like, all right, this is the gift we're getting for your father this year, and everyone's going to put in this much or that much. I that's a whole other thing. But I do think that narrative wise, it tells a story that a jury can latch on to and be like, yeah, I do that with my siblings. It's not my mommy who reaches out, but one of us siblings reach out and say, all right, what do we want to get for dad's birthday? Okay, everybody throw in $57.22, whatever it is, But again, you know, do they do that every year? Does it happen all the time? There's just um there's a lot of things that can be taken another way, but there's no question, no doubt that Rob's testimony helps paint a narrative that a jury can really hold on to and see with their eyes and say, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Right or wrong, truth or interpretation, it's a story that makes sense, and it's so important.
Yeah, I mean, narratives are the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we see
Well,
it all the time in cases. It's like
yeah.
you saw what happened with Amanda Knox, and if you're of the mindset that Amanda is guilty of that, I think that you're fucking
Living
nuts.
right.
Like, to be honest with you, like you are a person, if you believe that woman at 20 years old went over there and hatch some kind of like evil fucking plan. Like, to me, the whole story, that narrative is
But she's
insane.
a pretty woman,
Oh yeah,
babe. She must have done it.
the devil with the angel face.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, but wait, I
let's
want
line
to
it.
stick on this just for a second more. Like, to me, in terms of that picture, and I couldn't really, I don't know that I've ever seen it, because when we were watching a trial, I couldn't quite see the photograph of her sending, the picture of her and Jeff. Is it a picture of them that wasn't taken on the trip? Because that's a bit like if you and I are on a trip and we're texting your mother and we're like, hey, we're down here and wherever, and we take a fucking selfie and we send it, that there's nothing weird about that.
No.
Now, if this is a picture that predates, if it's just a
random
I
photo.
wish that the state would have put that evidence on, because I really wanted to know that, because it makes a big difference to me in my mind. If this is an old picture, then yeah, why the fuck is she sending a picture to her brother at that point in time? Right? It's weird. If it's a picture of them while they're on vacation, it's not. Yes, I don't know how that'll play out. But Georgia will have enough time to really kind of hone that particular situation down to where she's able to have it fit in her narrative. Ooh, excuse me. I usually can hit the silence button, but the sneeze came too fast. So I don't know how it'll play.
Yeah.
I don't know how it'll play.
Well, let's line it all up. Wendi wanted to move to South Florida. The court said no. She's in litigation over the house equity. Family dislikes Dan. She painted herself as mentally ill. When did she paint herself as mentally ill? In what way?
I don't know. Like, she painted herself as mentally ill?
Her family disliked Dan. She felt he painted her as mentally ill. But I can't remember what specifically was that in messages or.
Yeah, I'm sure during the course of the divorce that when it got heated, that there was talk about her, that she's going to have to go through an evaluation in terms of.
Oh yeah, I think I was thinking of that from the filings in the divorce.
Yeah.
So what do you pair that with?
Well, you pair that with Charlie's criminal contacts. Okay, Jeff's testimony about the hitman and the joke, and then all the other things that Jeff brought to the table, and then Rob's testimony about the family's lack of curiosity, and Wendi. I mean, kind of the biggest piece to it all is that Wendi's at the center of it all. She was the beneficiary. I argue, I would say that Donna's not the biggest beneficiary. I think that Wendi is. If you're in a situation, and we've handled enough divorce shit to know, if you, and again, I don't know what the relationship between Dan and Wendi was like during their marriage.
Right.
And I'm not going to pretend that I know.
But we saw, like, right at the end, the same day as he's murdered, they're bickering about when she can pick him up and where she can pick him up, and, like, that it wasn't amicable. It wasn't, like, easygoing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, they're still in that post-divorce phase where they still both really probably don't like each other much, and the communication between them is not only strained, but it's required because they have kids together. I mean, that's the one thing I would always tell our divorce clients. I'm like, look, you all have kids together, so I really don't give a fuck how much you can't stand one another. For the benefit of your children, you have to act like grown-ups, and you're going to make your children's lives better if you are able to bring yourself to act like grown-ups and adults. Have some flexibility. If your ex needs something on a weekend, be that cool parent. Is like, I would love to have the kids this weekend. What a wonderful surprise. Be that person who's going to do everything that they can to make it the softest landing for your kids as possible. A lot of people just cannot bring themselves to do it because of the animus that they feel for their ex.
Right.
And I get it. It's a shame, but I get it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when I look at Wendi, I mean, she, without question, had the most to gain. And I saw an interesting thing in chat. Now, I didn't see Michael and Linda's live with the divorce attorney. But Jadzia had said something. So what was it? What was the motive? And I take everything in terms of Dan's former, divorce attorney with a grain of salt, because I don't know if I'm on an opposing counsel in a divorce. I know very little about what is being said between client and attorney on the other side. It's like that. We're not having those types of discussions in terms of what is confidentially being said between attorney and client. That doesn't mean that when we're trying to negotiate things out, that just sounds like that might be that divorce attorney's theory.
Yeah, let's wait to see if she tells us what it was. But
yeah, I'm interested to know.
Poe's Raven says 100%, Bob. Me and my ex raised our two boys together, and it's hard to be the bigger person, like apparently you and your ex were able to do. The only place I've seen it in my life with a divorce was my aunt and uncle. I don't know if what played into it though is that my uncle came out of the closet. So there's a lot less hurt, I think, when it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gay. And they raise their boys together. We still have all of our family. When we do the whole family, we have my uncle and his husband, and my aunt and her husband. They raise their boys together. So it can be done, but it's awful hard. And sometimes it takes some time. Did we get any update on what the lawyer's
Let's
theory
see.
was? I don't see it.
Maybe she's typing a very lengthy response,
Oh.
or maybe she dipped. So look, at the end of the day, I mean, where I'm kind of at with this thing is, if we're looking at, if I'm looking at the concept of why she hasn't been arrested, I think I've put it out there on numerous occasions. I think that the way that Georgia has set these cases up, that she felt adamant about the fact that she had to have dominoes fall in front of her in order to get enough against Wendi. She needs Charlie and Donna to have been convicted, because then, like, it's incredibly powerful. I mean, we've seen it in hearing from the foreperson of the jury. I mean, she's absolutely convinced Wendi knew And, she had a hand in it in that sense by, not shutting it down. And she absolutely thinks that Wendi should be arrested. So it's powerful. It's powerful to have that. Like once you knock those two dominoes down, you can't pretend as if it's not powerful evidence against Wendi, even if it's guilt by association.
Right.
I mean, in and of itself, it doesn't really prove anything, but in the totality of the circumstances, I think that it's incredibly powerful to a jury. So,
So it
I
could
mean,
just be that they're waiting for those two things and it's about to come. And if it doesn't come, if she doesn't get arrested, it can only be that there's plausible deniability. I mean, she can explain away her behavior. There, there's some of the other things we didn't discuss is her one of the more damning pieces of evidence is that she text Dan asking if she could have the kids a certain day and when he was going to be leaving from her parents' house when she was there for the birthday party, I think. And, that obviously speaks to now she's trying to nail down his schedule on over the precise days that the hitmen were traveling to the area and going to be committing the offense.
yeah.
Now, the flip side to that is mom might have said, "Hey, I'd like to spend some time with the kids on this day. Can you find out?" It could have been that. And to me, what I keep coming back to as far as the plausible deniability and the more they make Donna the meddler, right? The more they make the brother the one who just wants to fix everything, the more you can believe that they sheltered her from this. And there's some texts and emails that speak to that. They're calling her stupid. They don't think she's got the uh the gumption to carry off a murder. They're trying to get her to fight. You have to fight. Don't say that, it's better for your kids not to fight. So those kind of things lead me to believe they might not have thought that she would be on board for murdering her children's father, and they might have kept it from her. So, plausible deniability to me is if she does not get arrested, the number one reason that she doesn't get arrested.
Yeah, and Maddie, we talked about that obviously in the beginning. I think that was probably before. It's probably when I had it as unlisted and you weren't here. So, but we talked about the whole concept with the Truscott and her claiming that was always her shortcut. So yeah,
And again,
that
our position on that is all of that may very well be true, but when she gets to the blockade and A doesn't ask the cop, "Hey, my kids and my ex live on this block. Is what's happening?" Or B, call to find out, shoot a text, "Hey, there's a lot of cops on your street. Your street's blocked down." They were in communication that day, you know? So that's the strangest thing, at least for me, because I believe there's tons of reasons why she may have taken that route or wanted to drive by his house or it was just being nosy. I think it's almost stupid to drive if she knew that her and her family had just coordinated the murder of her father's children, the children of the father of her children, to drive by is just beyond stupid.
right. I agree. I
But it
agree.
it 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 definitely, goes into the aisle of, you know, leans towards guilt. Is stuff they can stack up one of those paper
Right.
clips
And
as you
so
pointed out.
Jotsia got to us. So there was a deadline that Wendi hadn't met, or Wendy's attorney hadn't met. And Dan's attorney was going to be filing a motion the day of the homicide stating that Wendi had committed fraud when she filed her assets for the divorce. Okay. And then it's a two-parter. And then he had spoken to Dan. So the attorney had spoken to Dan earlier that morning, and Dan was busy. So they agreed to speak later. He tried to call Dan later and got no answer. And the family and knew the family had done it when he heard the news. So, I mean,
that sort of falls in line with kind of what they were saying then. And, I don't know that she did commit fraud. I don't know how much weight I was putting on those allegations. It seemed he was aware of her assets. Like, you can't hide something from someone who's aware of it and then say, "Oh, she didn't reveal it." Well, you knew about it. You chose not to raise it, and then to say that she concealed it, but you knew about it, so she didn't conceal it. But
yeah,
it's definitely something.
Well, it's something, but I want to flesh out, if you've gone through a divorce, you understand that in a divorce for the marital settlement portion of the divorce, meaning you're dividing up the money and the stuff, each party does a financial affidavit. Okay. And in that, you're stating all your assets, all your debts individually, and to me, like, somebody fudging numbers on that is definitely not something that is going to spur somebody on to kill somebody. To me, like, that's just not, that doesn't fall in that kind of like
No,
ballpark.
that's something they address with, okay, we can now reopen, because, once a divorce is done, you can't go back and be like, I want more of the estate. So it would be a matter of reopening the distribution side of things, and that Wendi would have to owe him some money. I mean, that typically comes into play when somebody opens up a bank account that the other doesn't know about and then fails to disclose it on this financial affidavit that Bob's speaking of. Now, you can't just not put something on an affidavit and be like, oh, he knows about it. So I'm not saying that there wouldn't be some fallback for the failure to put it on there. But if it's something that he not only had some like general awareness of, but was actively involved in, he gets the documents, he's the one who was involved in, anything related to the account, then it becomes, you can't claim fraud for something you knew was going on and that you were fully aware of and conscious of. And, but, it's still something.
I'd have to look at it and know, neither of us have seen the interview. I don't know if failing to disclose something, fraud seems like do you guys know what the alleged fraud was? Was it her failure to disclose?
I think it was something about her non-marital assets that she didn't disclose.
Like, I don't know that
Or
that's
something she
I don't
claimed
know.
was
I don't know.
non-marital.
I don't see her getting disbarred for that again, but I don't know much about it. So take whatever I'm saying with a grain of salt. Maybe it is way more compelling than it's sounding to me right now. But in terms of kind of losing your license to practice law for something that you filed not as an attorney, but as a party in a divorce, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot there with it.
But yes, committing fraud, as Cherie S. asks, could cause a lawyer. It's one of the number one reasons to either be suspended or lose your bar license is financial indiscretions. So fraud, anything that deals with dishonesty, especially you're talking about in a court case. Even though she's not the lawyer, she is a lawyer, and you're held to a certain standard in your life in general. So yes, that is something that could absolutely cause her to lose her
I'm going to
license.
disagree with you a little bit there.
Okay.
If you can find me some case law that, like, she wasn't acting as an attorney. I mean, I understand she is an officer of the court. She's going through a divorce as a party. I don't.
If she committed actual fraud, whether as a party or a lawyer,
I don't know that. I'm not necessarily going to say that her omitting something in a financial affidavit is necessarily fraud, is what I'm
Agreed.
saying.
So we're talking in a vacuum. If she had committed fraud, that is definitely something that could have a bearing on her license.
I don't think they're going to give it the same weight they would if you were fucking a client over, though. That's all I'm going to say about it. Like, if you're messing with your client's money, you're done. You know, if it's you in the middle of a,
yes, what
I'm just
Bluebird's
saying
as well.
there's more of a argument there in terms of like dealing with the bar. If you're dealing with your own shit as opposed to a client shit, there's a differentiation there, in my opinion. All right. So ultimately, babe, end of the day, do they have enough?
I mean, I think they have enough to give it the good old fashioned try, and I feel like they probably will, but I don't know. It could be that they decide again, and what I'm going to just term as sort of plausible deniability, that the hurdle's too high and not worth it when they already have, these other convictions. I guess only time will tell.
Yes, you absolutely have candor to the court. But what I'm trying to say to you as an officer of the court, when you're acting as a party and not an attorney, I mean, they're still going to hold you to that standard.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's not, but it's a different thing. It's a different thing when you're representing somebody and the candor to the court in that sense. If you're a party and you fudged a bit on your financial affidavit, I don't believe, and I could be wrong, that they would give it the same weight as if you're representing a client in court and you've got candor issues. Like those are just
not the same weight as financial indiscretions with your client's money, but I believe candor to the court applies equally when you're a lawyer, an officer of the court speaking in court on your own behalf, or as a lawyer. Now, financial indiscretions and fraud with your client's money, I do believe will be weighted much heavier than just general fraud with, with the public, but it's still most assuredly something that they would take into consideration.
Oh, and there's no question that the judge sitting on the bench would, the first thing that they would say is, "You're a fucking lawyer. You know better." So I mean, but in terms of the kind of evaluating whether or not.
I agree. Stay tuned means stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. So, all right, and this is where I'm at. I think that, and here's my last thought, and probably one of the most upsetting and damaging parts of this entire case is what Wendi did after the fact in terms of immediately changing the kids' names on documents that matter to Adelson, trying to completely erase Dan Markel and the Markel name from their lives.
And I don't buy what she said. Like,
I don't buy what
Markel was all in the press because he was murdered. That was not the kind of, name and infamy that you need to like change your kids' names from. That she was doing exactly like you said, wiping the father out, and proven by just completely cutting off the grandparents.
Which is the other part of it. Like those two things to me are disgusting. Like when knowing that the Markels have lost their son, and then stripping them on to not only add to that absolute torture, the Adelsons are now going to forbid them from seeing their grandchildren. It's fucking evil. It's fucking evil. And Wendi, I don't give a shit how much of a meddler Donna is. Wendi had the control to be able to say, you know what? Yeah. Fuck my mom. Yes, of course, Ruth. I'm going to drive the kids over. You can have them for the weekend. When she doesn't do that, it speaks volumes to me.
Right.
Like that
in and of itself, about my kids, all goes out the window. All that stuff I was saying earlier about, well, she seemed to want to keep it more amicable and not willing to do the things that her mother said. I mean, maybe she wasn't willing to do some of them, but she's willing to just cut off the only connection they have left to their father. I mean, if my, if my kid's father dies and, we had a horrible divorce, it's even more of a reason for me to make sure that they have constant contact with the family. Period. The end.
Right.
Now,
There
that's
is
what a good
no
mother does. That's what someone who cares about their kids does. And
100%. There is absolutely no viable explanation for what they did. None. And again, the short-sightedness of that entire fucking family. And I said this like right after the verdict, and not realizing that this fucking plot was destroying those kids' lives and putting those children through absolute hell in perpetuity. Like for them to be so narcissistic and so selfish to not even contemplate the concept. Okay, number one, we're stealing the boy's father from them, but we're also theoretically, if shit goes sideways, destroying this side of the family, leaving the boys with no parent out there. And I mean, to me, not being able to even have that as a concept that would sway you like, oh my God, what I'm thinking about is fucking insane. I would never do. It's like everything about it is so disturbing to me, but nothing swung me to they need to go after Wendi, because I believe her actions after the fact were so cold, so calculated, so selfish that to me, it's enough to get a conviction, because any juror that's going to be sitting there hearing that shit, when you combine it with all the other circumstantial stuff, they're going to be like, this woman's a giant piece of shit. And I don't believe for 1 second that she didn't know what was going on. So I think there's plenty. I think the question, and it was interesting because I had made a Twitter about it with respect to Georgia's press conference right after the verdict came down, and somebody asked her about the kids, the boys. And she's like, oh, it's like that's the worst part of it, and she says that thing like, I can't help but feel that like I'm kind of adding to their trauma because I keep having to convict their family, what's left of their family on their mother's side. And she left it with stay tuned. It's like she left it with stay tuned, because it can't feel great. As much as she wants Wendi to pay the price, she's also human enough to know that the end result will be that those boys don't have a parent anymore. I mean, at least one that's in their lives. So, I mean, it's an incredibly sad case. I believe they're going to charge Wendi. Whether or not it's before Harvey, I do not know, because I think that they have enough for Harvey. So I think ultimately they're all going to go down. I think this case is going to be going on, and I don't think that they're necessarily in a hurry. I would not be shocked I know everybody's like, oh, they're going to get Wendi right away. I don't know if that's true. Number one, I think that Georgia's going to have to deal with her other cases on I'm sure a very full docket of cases that she has to deal with. And these are very time consuming cases for her. But I could see a world. It's been 11 going on 12 years. I could see a world when she's like, you know what? I'm going to let the boys turn 14. There is no statute of limitation on murder. And I'm going to go after them after the boys are in college. It's just like, I just think that that's something that they might do, that she might do, just to spare the boys any more pain on the back end when they're still at, the tender age of being teenagers. And, because clearly the boys are old enough to get on fucking Google and they have to know everything that's going on, so that's where I'm at, babe. I think they're going to get her. I think that they might wait. And I think if they arrest her, they're definitely going to get a conviction on it. That's where I stand. Where do you stand, my love?
I agree.
Oh, can you make some words? I'm going to send everybody over to the live that's going to be starting in about 10 minutes.
Yes, we're going to be talking about Kelsey Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
Going into some of that. So hopefully you guys stick around.
And it's Fitzsimmons, just for the record.
Fitzsimmons.
Get that name fuck up out like before we start that live.
Yes, Fitzsimmons.
All right, y'all. I love you guys. Ali loves you guys. We are so thankful that you're members. We really are going to try to do these more commonly. Sorry for the mix up, but you know, in terms of unlisted, I thought you guys should always be checking the community page. Always, always, always. And I thought you all as members got emails. Am I not correct in that? I thought that you got emails letting you know.
And what about patrons? Did you get emails?
And the patrons, like I knew that the patrons would see it. So hopefully everybody's able to see it. Next time I will convert it to a members only, like right before I go live. So because we did get a big influx of people after the fact. You guys don't have to do a word. Fitzsimmons.
A thing, you mean?
It gave you the wrong time, Brian? What time did it give you? That's weird. That's suspicious. All right. You guys don't have to do a thing. If you're going to join us for Fitzsimmons, it'll automatically kick you over there. We adore you. We thank you so much for being members, for being patrons. It really helps us keep the show afloat. It's a big, big thing for us. And it's one of the things that YouTube doesn't get a penny of for our members. When you guys pay your membership fee, we get all of that. So it's helpful for us.
Yes,
so we
thank
love
you
you guys
very much. We do. We love you all.
And we'll see you very shortly, like 12 minutes. We love you guys. See you on the flip side.